Did you know that you only have 5 seconds to get someone's attention nowadays? Sometimes less. In the next 15 minutes, I want to share with you how you can stop the madness of the crazy 8 pattern of being able to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it when you're networking. Before I share with you these 7 ways of how to stop the madness, I want to thank you for being here. Before I share with you the 7 ways of how you can stop the madness and grow your business with authentic speaking, I want to thank you for showing up and being here and listening to my voice. I especially want to thank Lisa for inviting me. The truth is, I'm not a natural born speaker. I'm actually, in fact, most of my life I've been deadly afraid to speak in front of people. And it's not that I've been an introvert or an extrovert. In fact, I get to be both, depending on how I'm feeling in the moment. What I found a few short years ago is that I'm actually a highly sensitive person. And what a highly sensitive person is they're very, very sensitive to the subtle changes in their environment. The people's feelings and emotions, the weather changes, everything changes, and we feel that deeply. And because of that, it would lock up my words in my throat and I wouldn't be able to speak anymore about anything to anybody, whether it was one person or an entire room. Being highly sensitive means that we are all, anybody that is sensitive, about 20% of the population, can also feel these subtle changes. I'm not alone in this little, we have this little tribe going on. So what happens is, when we're speaking with somebody, we not only hear your voice and what you're saying, we also look into your eyes, and we look at your facial features and what you're doing, and we listen to the sounds of your words and the subtle changes in your tone. We also notice your body language, and most important is that we pay attention to our intuition. With all this going on simultaneously, and in addition to all the other stimuli that goes crazy in a room like this, is we tend to get overwhelmed and we shut down and hide to protect ourselves. Now you would think with a rock star name like Johnny Urban, it'd be kind of hard for me to hide, right? And when I was born, my name was given to me, and my grandma didn't like it very much. So I had to be called Marie my whole life until about I was 12 years old, in about 5th grade. My teacher saw on the roster my name was Johnny and asked if I wanted to start using it, and that's when it all started. And the urban part happened about 6 years ago when I met and married my husband, Michael. So Johnny Urban is my name. Now we might be related to Keith Urban, but we'll never know that since he never answers my calls. So here I am, a highly sensitive person that has become a successful entrepreneur that does public speaking and also speaks individually, networking to individual people too. And I've always been kind of an entrepreneur my whole life. Even in high school, I would knit and crochet hats and scarves for my friends. I didn't have to speak to them very much, did I, to do that? Just, what color do you need? Okay, it's done, it's boom, done. And my first real business started after the birth of my 2nd child. I really wanted to stay home and take care of them and raise them in the home environment. So I started a daycare preschool in my home at the time. And in a very short time, I ended up with 12 little children, 2 employees, and a very successful daycare preschool. Parents loved me, the children loved me, it was amazing. After about 10 years, I decided it was time for a change. So I started cosmetology school. I thought, I've always wanted people to feel good, look good, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna go to school, get my license, and start making real money in this industry, right? So I went to school, and no, I did not become a beauty school dropout. I actually found that I enjoyed it a great deal. Got out of school, hit the ground running, and in a few short years, I became one of the master stylists and an expert in my field. And now, I didn't have to talk to a lot of people in that environment. I just had to talk to one person at a time while I was, doing their hair. And so I got better and better at talking with people, but it was still difficult for me to actually communicate to them exactly how I could take care of them at times. And after about 10 years in that business, I quickly began to realize that I had become a natural psychologist. Between the early childhood development that I had learned in the preschool and then learning to deal with people, I had people coming to me like crazy to do their hair, but when they left, they felt great because I was able to help them through their problems. And then one day in early 2002, one of my hair clients gave me a Tony Robbins ticket. Who knows Tony Robbins? Big guy, big teeth, you know. And I was curious because I kind of followed Tony Robbins and his sales techniques for a long time, and I was really curious. And I said, well, yeah, I think I'll go. She goes, no, 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 honey. If I give you this ticket, you're going. And I go, okay, not knowing what I was getting into. I did not go on the internet to find out what it was. I was like, because I figured if I found out what it was, I may talk myself out of going. So that very first night of that event, I got to walk on hot coals. And my life has never been the same since. So what I learned from Tony Robbins is I learned how I make my everyday decisions. Tony is a master in human behavior. And learning how I made my everyday decisions, I also learned how other people made their everyday decisions. So I was able to take all that information that I was learning in that environment and help my hair clients even deeper and even further. It got to the point where they were paying me more money for the psychology I was giving them and the help I was giving them than they were for me doing their hair. Now I understand how heart-centered entrepreneurs can have a problem communicating to people about what they do for their product and service. I know because that happened to me. How if we try to use a canned script, we feel yucky and inauthentic. Trying to find our own words and be able to communicate it to someone so that they can understand, so that they can hire us, so that we can be successful in the income that we desire. It was difficult, it was hard. And this all happened to me, and then I discovered a solution. Everything that I learned in Tony Robbins, and then further courses that I took in public speaking, I put it all together, and now here I am, a very successful entrepreneur speaking in front of not only one person, but a whole room full of people. My programs are specifically designed for highly sensitive people that have this huge problem of being able to speak and say what they need to say. Now I want to cover a few points here, the 7 points like I promised to you. And the first one I want to cover is networking is everywhere. Whether you go to an event, whether you're in the grocery store, the post office, or even someone introduces you to them. It's everywhere. The question is, are you networking in front of the right people that are your customers, your potential prospects and customers? Are you putting yourself in those perfect places so that it's a little easier for you to find the customer that is for your service? And the second thing is on that one is, are you saying the right things at the right time to that person so their ears perk up and say, hey, I want that. Now, the second thing I want to share with you is it really works this way. This is a little NLP I'm going to teach. Is that okay? Is that when you ask someone a question about them in a way that's kind of tied to your service, to what you provide, they have to answer that question. That question will not hang out there in the middle of nowhere and unanswered. What happens when you ask someone a question, you kind of change their state a little bit because they don't expect a question. If somebody says, okay, what do you do? And you're like, if you ignore that question, like if somebody asks me, what do I do? Like, ask me what I do.
What do you do?
What do I do? Oh, do you use public speaking as a way to grow your business?
No.
No? No? Well, maybe you're not the customer for me, but I want to introduce you to my friend over here. And I'm going to bring you over here, and I'm going to introduce you to my friend Lucy. And I'm going to say, see ya, and I'm going to go find somebody else that I can ask the same question to. And as soon as I find somebody that says, well, yes, I do. And then I ask them, and then I'll listen to what they have to say, because people like to talk about themselves. Don't they like that? So as I talk about themselves and what they're doing and everything, you're going to quickly find out whether they need your product or service. And it doesn't matter, all you keep doing is asking questions, and it really doesn't matter a whole lot about what you say to them, because you're on a discovery mission. You're just being a little detective to figure it out. Because they will not buy from you unless they need you. And you can't convince somebody to buy something if they don't need it. And that's your job to figure that out. Now, point number 3 I want to share with you is when you're out there networking and talking to people, Do you always have an elevator speech that you say? Something that you created, something that you use over and over again? People get tired of hearing those. Now, if you're in a formal event, like maybe a BNI or one of those, they expect you to be able to say what you do like this and get on with it. But when you're in a very natural environment, or even some of these networking lunches or something like that, you can actually just kill the elevator speech. People really enjoy when you're authentic and you just have a nice natural conversation with you. And you're going to be able to build rapport, and they're going to be able to remember you at that point. Maya Angelou is famous. Anybody know who Maya Angelou is? She's wonderful. She's passed now, but she's left us a legacy. But she always was famous for saying, it's not what you say, and it's not what you did. It's how you make people feel. And that's her job. That's her job. It's quite easy for highly sensitive people to do that, by the way. Number 4 is when you find someone that really is interested in what you do. You've met them, you've built rapport, you've said the right words to get their attention, and now they're interested in what you want to do, and they want to know more information. At a networking event, it's really not the good place to come to really sit down and really dig deep and spend an hour with somebody to figure out how you can help them. And it's actually not even recommended that you try to sell them on your feet. There's so much going on, distractions and noise and all this wine and crackers and cheese and everything, that you just won't be able to do a very good job. And a lot of times they're there just to pick your brain, to get answers, so that when it's time for you to ask them to pay you for their service, they're going to be like, no, you helped me, I'm fine, I don't need any more help. So you're doing yourself a disservice by trying to sell to them and try to answer and solve their problems right there on the spot. So it's important that you ask them to, you're going to talk to them and you're going to say, well, let's follow up. Let's follow up in next week where we can actually sit down just one-on-one. In your privacy of your office, a phone call, you can really do a real good, solid discovery call. It's also important that when you find someone that is really interested in knowing more about you, is that you get their contact information. It's great that you give them your card, but what happens if they don't have any cards? Well, you just need to write it down. You need to get their contact information, because life happens, they're busy, they have kids, dogs, husbands, turtles, whatever, and they will lose your contact information quite easily. It happens all the time. It's our job to follow up with them. And if you're afraid to get on the phone and pick up the phone and follow up with people, talk to me later, I'll fix that. Now, whether it's a voicemail or a direct contact when you call them and follow up with them, it's really important to know what to say to them next. And the very first thing that you need to say to them is to tell them and remind them where you met. If you were at a networking event, which event is it? You may only go to one networking event, but some of us go to multiple events in 1 week. So if I have a reference to where I had met you at or which one it was at, that helps me instantly remember you and brings that rapport back fresh into my mind that we had built up. And if you met through somebody else at a grocery store or something like that I introduced, just remind them of your name. And the easy way to do that is when you get their contact information, write a little note on their card or next to their name of where you met them and who you met them with, so that you can refer back to that when you call them and you're talking to them. Number 6, when you're leaving a voicemail, it's really, really important. I wish more people would do this. It would make my life a lot easier. When you're leaving a voicemail, you need to slow down when you say your name and your phone number. And you need to do this at the end of the message. It doesn't matter if you say your name in the beginning of the message. It really doesn't. Because people quickly pick up voicemail. They don't really start listening for about 5 seconds, do they? So you say your message, I'd like to talk to you about, I met you here, I'd like to talk to you, connect with you, follow up, whatever your message is, and then you slow down a little bit and you say your name. Like, for instance, I would say, my name is Johnny Urban, 714-403-9256. Again, Johnny Urban, 714-403-9256. I look forward to talking with you soon. They don't have to rewind and listen to that again to get your whole piece of information. Now, number 7, the last point, it's not always about you. When you're networking and somebody shows up and you're talking to somebody and they're in a bad mood and they're grumbling and you're not really responding to you, it's all about what's going on with them. We have no idea what's going on with the person in front of us unless they share it with you. Stuff happens. It could, anything could happen. I'm not going to mention the horrible things that can happen in our daily lives. But if you think about using your sensitivities, all those little sensitive traits that we all have, to pay attention to all the little nuances of people, like ones I mentioned before, is that don't just listen to their words. Because how many of you network, and you go in, and the people that you meet, they say the same canned thing over and over and over again. They show up wearing this costume on, and this mask, because they have to show up appearing to be perfect, and strong, and centered, and inside they might be just crumbling to pieces because of what's going on at home. And you have no idea how you're going to get through to them. You may not ever in that moment, in that event. You'll be able to really, really connect with them when you go home and you're able to call and talk to them on the phone, or maybe meet for a cup of coffee or something like that. That's when you really get down to the nitty-gritty, juicy stuff. So don't just listen to their words. Actually look into their face, into their eyes, connect deeply into their soul. Some of them might be a little unnerved by that, but when you gently do it from your sensitive place and kind of read their body language and follow that, trust your intuition, because you'll be able to connect and build rapport with them instantly, and they'll remember that forever. When you're talking with somebody and they seem a little put off or anything and they're not responding to you, just always, we always tend to want to place a judgment on people. My number one rule is always interpret all of that to the positive, and bless their heart for whatever traumas they might be going through in the moment. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is the 7 ways that you can stop the madness and grow your business with being authentic and speaking what you need to speak when you need to speak it. Now, who here would like to win a prize? Yay! Yay. I would like to give away my signature book right here, Stop the Madness of How Highly Sensitive People Can Thrive in a Chaotic World. Because isn't our world a little chaotic at times? What this book will teach you is what it is, what being highly sensitive is, and what it's not. And then how you can also tap into this information that's in here and that will help you thrive when the world seems really, really chaotic. There's science in here, there's studies in here, there's also my own personal experience and stories. It's a phenomenal read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to get out your business cards. And this is going to put you into a raffle. Now, it's also going to put you into my database. If you do not want to be in my database, simply fold your card in half. You'll still be in the raffle, but I will not add you to my database if that's okay. And just pass your cards to the end of the aisle. And Joyce here will collect them all. And then she's going to ask someone to pull a card. And the winner.
Miss Yana would like to pull a card there for us. It's Michelle Wasnap.
Michelle! Yay! Thank you, enjoy. And I'll autograph that for you too.
Perfect.
So, I want to acknowledge each and every one of you for being the best audience ever. It was so much fun being here. And just remember, you can stop the madness and thrive in your business.